Welcome to 2016. It has been a great 3 days so far. I've been reminded of why I left Minnesota, and I am sad that I forgot my snowblower and my snow shovel in Minnesota when I left. But I hope your 2016 has started off great. I've realized something though. Some holidays have weird habits associated with them, if you think about it. All year long, we tell kids not to eat too much candy and to be cautious of strangers. But then on one night throughout the year, we encourage kids to get as much candy as they can and then go out and get that candy from who? Strangers. Weird habit. Another one, Christmas. Think about it. We're celebrating the birthday of Jesus. And for many people, the focus is, what presents do I get on his birthday? Now, I have never been to a birthday party where the focus is me getting presents, but if you find one, hook me up because I want to go to that party, all right? Weird habits with holidays. And one of my favorites is New Year's. Here's why I think the habits with New Year's are a little weird. We reevaluate 2015, and most of the time, we only focus on the things that we have majorly screwed up in our lives. And then we say, hey, I want to change that in 2016. Now, that's a way to start off a year. Look at all the bad things you've done and say, I'm going to change it. That's a horrible start. But the thing that I do like about New Year's resolutions and New Year's is because we take time to stop and evaluate our lives. We ask the question, why? Why am I doing this? Why am I doing that? And the reason the question why is so important is because the why drives the what. Let me explain that. The why drives the what. If you evaluate your life and you're like, I want to be more physically fit in the new year, you're going to get up early and spend time at the gym exercising. You don't just go to the gym to exercise just because you have nothing else to do. No, there's a why behind that. You want to be more physically fit, and that why drives your what. There's always a motivation for the action that we do. And so I think it's a great time to stop and evaluate why we're doing Grace Sunday nights. Because we launched this service 13 weeks ago. And the vision was we wanted to remove all of the barriers for people to experience God. And so it's 2016. And it's a natural time to ask, why are we doing this? Because if there's not a real why behind everything that we're doing, what's the point? And so we're going to take time this week called Why Week, and we're going to be answering this question, why? But before I jump into that, I want to share a great story with you. And it kind of helps us understand why the why is so important in what we do. The king of Aram was at war against the king of Israel. And the king of Aram, he was sly, we'll put it like that. He would consistently set up traps to try to trap the king of Israel and to kill him. But there was a problem. The problem was Elijah. He was a prophet that lived in Israel. And every time the king of Aram set a trap for the king of Israel, Elijah would go to the king of Israel and say, hey, you're not going to want to take that route because the king of Aram set up a trap for you, so I would go this way instead. And this didn't happen just once or twice. It happened consistently over and over and over again. And so the king of Aram is furious because he's setting all these traps for the king of Israel, but every time he avoids them. So one day he calls together everybody in his council. And he simply says, okay, who's the mole here? Who's telling the king of Israel what's happening? And everyone looks around and they said, none of us are telling him. And then they say, there's a prophet in Israel, and his name is Elijah. And every time you do something, even the smallest thing, he tells the king about it. And so the answer is obvious for the king of Aram. He's like, we've got to find Elijah, capture him, and take him out. So they go searching for where Elijah is, and they find out he's in the city of Dothan. Dothan was a medium-sized city. It had walls, but it wasn't a capital city, so it probably wasn't very big and didn't have a big army there. Maybe just a couple guards. That was it. So Elijah's in Dothan. He goes to sleep at night, and that night, the king of Aram sends his best of the best. He sends his best chariots, his best horses, his best men, his army to go and surround the city of Dothan to capture one man. And so in the morning when the sun comes up, Elijah's servant wakes up. He goes out on the city wall, takes a look around, and his chin drops. Because there surrounding the city is this vast army from the king of Aram. So he does what all good servants do, run to their master in fear and panic. He goes to Elijah and he says, get up, you got to look at this. Elijah goes out on the city wall. He's looking out over it, and he says this, don't be afraid, because those people that are with us, they're greater than they are. And I'm sure his servant was thinking, what? Are you seeing the same thing I am seeing? There is an army surrounding the city. And Elijah's like, no big deal. And then he prays this prayer. He says, God, open my servant's eyes. And in that moment, the servant's eyes are opened. And when the servant looks up, he sees chariots of fire. Yes, the original chariots of fire surrounding this army on the hills. And then Elijah prays a prayer. He says, God, blind this army. And in that moment, the army becomes blind. The story doesn't end there. It gets even more crazy. Elijah goes out to the army and he says, yeah, the guy you're looking for, he's not here. He's in a different city. So this whole army follows Elijah to Samaria. Just so happens that in Samaria is where the king of Israel is at with all of his army. I don't know how this happens besides God. He leads them into the middle of the city. And then right when they're in the middle of the city and they're surrounded by the Israelite army, Elijah says, God, open their eyes. And this whole army's eyes are open and they realize where they are at. The king of Israel asks, can I kill him? Great question. I would ask the same thing. And Elijah says, no. Instead, let's throw a feast. And so they throw this huge feast. And both of these armies sit down and they celebrate. Then at the end of the feast, they send the army back to the king of Aram. And for the first time, there is peace between these two nations. I share this story with you to highlight two things. There is a natural reality and a supernatural reality always around us. The natural reality of the situation was there was an army surrounding the city of Dothan. Elijah didn't just say, oh, well, that's no big deal. No, he acknowledged it. Yeah, there they are. But he prayed that the servant's eyes would be open to the supernatural reality that is even greater than the natural reality. Here at Grace Sunday Nights, we have these two realities working here. There is a natural reality of what's going on, and there's a supernatural reality of what's happening. Here's the natural reality of what happens on Grace Sunday Nights in 1 week. We have production meetings, we have message prep, we have weekly prayer, music selection, setup, full rehearsal, children's ministry, coffee prep, pre-prayer, impressions, communion prep, coffee team, 15 after prep, prayer team, media team, ushers, reset team, and growth groups. I did the math. It takes over 110 man hours to put on this service for 75 minutes. There is over an hour invested every single minute you are in this building. That is the natural reality of what's going on. If you do the math, it takes 2.75 work weeks to put on 75 minutes here during this night. That's the natural reality. And I also did the math. To put this on an average week, it costs over $2,500 just to put this on. That's the natural reality of what's going on. But this is why we are celebrating Y Week. Because Y Week is all about what is the supernatural things that are going on. Because it's not just about setting up chairs, and it's not just about coffee, and it's not just about impressions. There is something bigger that is happening. And if we don't understand this bigger picture, it's easy to get discouraged and forget why we're even here. Because I can think of a whole lot better things that I could do with 110 man hours if this isn't making a difference. And so we're going to spend this whole week answering this question, why? Here's the question we're looking at. Why does Grace Sunday Nights matter to me? This is an internal motivation question. Because I can get up here and I can try to motivate you externally of why this is making a difference. But if you don't have an internal motivation of why this matters to you, it's going to be very easy to come and go and not really care. But since it's 2016 and we're reevaluating what we're doing in our lives, you should even reevaluate, why do you come to church? Why do we have Sunday nights? And I believe that there is a supernatural reality that is going on that we can't see. But that supernatural reality is tied up in your lives and in mine. And so to highlight these, we wanted to take some time and just have some people answer this question to kick off our Why Week. Because when we have our eyes open to the reality of what God is doing, it's amazing to see how he will continue to work and move when we believe he is moving. So we're going to have a couple people come on up here and just share their stories of answering this very question. So go ahead, who's our first one up? Oh, the lovely John Drusdom. Hey, John.
How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good.
So why? Why does Grace Sunday Night matter
I
to
made
you?
notes.
Hey, ooh, he is prepared. I like it. What you got?
First one I say was because people are able to come just as they are. It's very similar to a church that Sharon and I got the privilege of planting in Austin, Texas, where we believe the same thing, that people can come just as they are. Doesn't matter if you have, what kind of clothes you have, doesn't matter what kind of job you have, doesn't matter what you do, you're allowed to come. And that talk moves right into the second thing that I was thinking about. It offers an opportunity to reach people who might never come to a more traditional kind of church service. And we want to reach people. That's part of what we do. So there are going to be people who feel more comfortable in a setting like this than they would in a more traditional church service for whatever reason. Sometimes it's judgmental or whatever. They might have had a bad experience in a traditional service, but here they can just kind of feel at home. That's pretty cool. And the third thing was it offers a place for anyone and everyone to get involved. Anyone. You saw the list of the things that he put up there. Anybody can get involved in those things. It doesn't take any special training, well, some training to set all this up and to do all this stuff. But anybody can get involved, especially those of us who are, would consider yourself a little bit creative side. There's a lot of place for you guys to fit in. So talk to Jason or John or myself or any of the other staff here, people who are behind the scenes doing stuff, and we'd like to get you involved.
One other question I have for you specifically. Those are great things for creating the environment. What about you? Your personal walk with Christ. Why does it matter to you?
Why does it matter to? Those were, I thought, personal.
No, but what has God specifically done in your life through this service?
That, okay. Gotcha. Well, God is always challenging me to take new and different steps, pushing me out of my comfort zone as well. And so I've, through this service, with a couple of people who are here, I've been able to develop relationships with them, relationships in such that I can go to them and just say, how am I doing here in this area of my life? What's going on here? And they have the opportunity, this isn't for everybody, but God has allowed it for me, that they have the opportunity to just say, John, you might want to check this area or something like that. And I'll go, oh, okay, that's right. I don't like that all the time, but that's okay. So it allows me to be a little bit more vulnerable, a little bit more transparent, and to develop relationships.
Perfect. Thanks, John.
Sure.
Appreciate it. Let's give John a hand. Next we have Tammy. Hey, Tammy.
Hey, Josh.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
So why does Grace Sunday Nights matter to you?
When Kevin and I first started hearing about Grace Sunday Nights, it was a wonderful opportunity for us because we're gone during the week. On the weekends, we go to Ruidoso. But it has changed. It has become so much more. We came the very first night that it was here in October. And the relaxed atmosphere, the ability to just worship the Lord. No pressure, no rush. Just let the Holy Spirit just come in and just fall on this place. It was just an amazing time. We have come every week. I think there was one that we didn't. But other than that, we miss it when we're not here. The music is wonderful. The message is fabulous. It just allows us to just hear the word of God.
Have you seen one specific area in your life that you could say, God has really met me in this area through Grace Sunday Nights?
I think opening up again and just praising more and just feeling his presence.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Tammy. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Josh.
Give Tammy a hand. Next, we have Nate and Dominique. I'm going to stand up so you guys can sit down. Oh, actually, no, you stay standing, Packers fan. You don't get a seat. I'm sorry. Hey, guys. So who would like to start us off? Okay. Support. Yeah. You still don't get a seat. Sorry.
All right. So I guess for us, when we first moved here, we were really trying hard to get connected to a church. And for like half a year, we just couldn't find a place. And it wasn't until we came here that we really, could find a place to communicate with others.
Just give him the mic, Dad. I want to talk.
So like I said, it wasn't until like 6 months in being here that we actually connected with people and started communicating and were able to find, community. So.
Is there any way that this service has maybe helped strengthen your family in any way?
Just having the childcare that we can actually trust. That's been a huge issue for us.
Good.
So.
Good. You have anything to add? You can if you'd like.
What he said.
What he said, ditto. All right, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. And don't try to indoctrinate your son with Packer stuff. Don't do it. Don't do it. Next, we have Katie Cooper. Katie, welcome. So why does Grace Sunday Nights matter to you?
I think just really being a part of something that's bigger than I've ever been a part of. Kind of from the beginning, just seeing how faithful God has been and answering all the prayers that we prayed for specifically for the number of people, and just seeing everything kind of come to fruition through that. So, and really being able to do Grace Sunday Nights with our entire family. Not only did the boys want to be a part of it, they wanted to serve, and it was their decision, and so we found a place that our entire family was able to get plugged in and connected and serve.
Oh, that's exciting. Have you noticed anything specific about your family that's maybe grown through serving at this service?
I think we have a lot of really great conversations. I know for me, being out and greeting, it kind of takes me out of my comfort zone, and having the boys be in here and be a part of everything, I think it just opens up a lot of great conversation and communication between us.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Katie. Thank you very much for sharing tonight. So why does Grace Sunday Nights matter to you?
Well, for one, I get to sleep in.
Yes! Somebody said it. I was hoping somebody would go there.
I really enjoy it because of the people around me. I get to grow with them together because we're all kind of in the same boat. I made a lot of new friends, starting with Grace Sunday Nights, and I volunteer every other week in the sound booth, so it's really fun.
Perfect. You talked about the relationships.
Uh-huh.
How has that helped you grow in your relationship with Christ by growing in those relationships here?
Let's see. My relationship with Christ has grown a lot bigger with having those other people to rely on for questions that I need help with and life in general. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. One thing I wanted to specifically highlight in hers was that when we launched this, one of our values was we wanted to be relational. We wanted to create space where people can develop relationships. So thank you for sharing that, because that was one of the values that we wanted to set out, not to just put on a good service, but so people could actually develop relationships. So thanks for highlighting that. Next, we have the lovely, who's this guy? I told you couldn't talk tonight. So why does Grace Sunday Nights matter to you?
Well, for the pastors and the part of the plant team, this was not a forced thing. You know, Rick could have came to us and said, you guys are going to do this. But really it was a choice. It was a prayerful matter. And for that reason, that matters so much more in a deeper level than anything else. One of the things that I've been able to experience since we've launched Grace Sunday Nights is just a conversation right here in the aisle with a woman. And she said to me, she said, this is perfect because she travels all week, she's tired, and every time that she has the availability to come on Sunday morning, something happens. You know, kids won't work. She has 5 kids, I believe. Just things do not work well on Sunday mornings. And so her reply to me was, this was the perfect time for her family, overall, everybody. And then I thought about it as I said, that was so wonderful, that when we offer a 15 after party, it is a time for people to connect. And the more and more I thought about it, I think Grace Sunday Nights matters to me because it is a place that you can connect. You can connect to each other, the person you're sitting next to. Maybe you don't even know them. You can connect with pastors, which some churches you never even have the opportunity to meet or talk to the pastors. You also have the opportunity to connect with God through worship, which is one of the best things for me because I cannot sing. Somebody that would be sitting in front of me, you may have experienced that recently. But it really, to show my authenticity and my transparency, it is a place that I feel completely freedom in worship. And so we can connect with God. And then we see people connect with Jesus through new relationships as they become believers and followers of Christ. That's why Grace Sunday Nights matters to me.
Wow. Thank you, Jake. Connection, a place of connection. I love how we hit on that. We have next, I'm not sure in what order. Oh, the lovely. Stop saying the lovely. John Cantu. Why does Grace Sunday Nights matter to you?
Thanks, Josh.
By the way, all of you pastors are lovely, so that's why I say them lovely.
Well, I can't stop moving. Grace Sunday Nights matters to me because of the difference in the worship style. I mean, I know you guys all thought I was going to say that, and I am. I'm going there. When I was at my last church, we did things a certain way, and it got to me after a while. I was there for 7 years, and after a certain amount of time, I couldn't push through it anymore. I literally got burned out, and one of the reasons why is because I wasn't connecting with God. And there have been times in my life where I've really connected with God, and there are other times when I haven't connected with God very well. And one of those factors in those times in my life has been worship. If I don't connect with God through worship, and especially when it comes to music, I have a very difficult time in my relationship with the Lord. Worship, and especially as it pertains to worship music, is a huge part of my life and how I connect to God the Father. And so this service matters to me because it gives me an outlet to worship in a way that I connect to God better. I mean, it might be silly, but when I do my devotional, it's in a dark place most of the time. I turn the lights off and I just connect to God better that way because I'm free from distraction. Sunday mornings are a little bit more difficult for me to eliminate distraction in my mind because of all the lights. And so that's one reason why it matters to me. The other reason why it matters to me is because we're starting a service that is going to connect to a different genre of people, different genre of music, different genre of a service for a different genre of people. And so Grace Sunday Nights matters because you matter. Grace Sunday Nights matters to me because you matter to me. And same thing goes for Josh and everyone else here on staff. We want for people to be able to connect with God. And if everybody here said, we don't like the lights, we don't like the dark, we want to worship outside, I guarantee you that's what we would do.
It'd be cold.
It'd be cold. And you'd be kind of stupid for saying it, but we would do it because we want you to connect with God. And that's why Grace Sunday Nights matters.
Perfect. Thanks, John. You are lovely too, by the way.
You were forced to say that.
So why does Grace Sunday nights matter to you?
I've found in my life that, just like many of you, it's not easy to invite people to church. You know, it's one of those things that we don't talk about in social circles, right? We don't talk about politics and spirituality and things like that because it offends people. But I found there are things that are easy to invite people to, and that's things that are kind of an extension of ourselves. You know, I don't feel bad when I say, hey, you need to go to Best Buy. I love Best Buy. Because it's kind of like this extension of myself. If I had a home and I had enough money, it would probably look like Best Buy, you know? And I don't have a problem saying, hey, you should go to Buffalo Wild Wings because it's great. They have Mountain Dew and it's 57 different flavors of burn your face off is great. You know, it's like this extension of myself. And I've been in church situations growing up and different times when that service wasn't necessarily an extension or a reflection of myself. And so I know when we started this conversation of if we were going to do a third service, what would that look like? A lot of that was built into that. What would that service be like that would be an extension of myself? And I think we went out to create a service that was like that, and it was an extension of ourselves, an extension of and yourselves. So when you go out into the community, when you're with your friends and family or whomever, that you can sit there and you can say, hey, have you connected with God? This is a place you can do that because they know that if you like it and they like you, that there's going to be some sort of connection. And it's an easy invite because of that connection to yourself. And so I think that for me, why does this matter is because this, like for many of you, is a direct reflection of who you are. You know, whether it be the music style or the communication style or just the opportunity to interact, whatever that might be, it's an easy invite for me because I can say, hey, if you like who I am and how I live my life and maybe my style, you might like this. Come check this out. And I think almost 100% of the time, you're going to find that connection just be really simple because of that extension.
Thanks for sharing that, Ben. I don't know if you noticed, but all of the whys were different. That's the way it should be. Because the supernatural reality of what God is doing just in these individual lives that we just talked to is different. And that's a good thing. So you have heard from us, but we want to hear from you. We want to know the answer to the question from you, why does Grace Sunday nights matter to you? You can do this two ways. First, there's those connection cards right in front of you in your seats. You can pull one of those out, and you can just write down your answer to that question. It can be a simple sentence or two, and if you want to put your name on it, we would appreciate that, just so we can identify who it is, but don't feel like you have to. That's one way. The other way that you can do it is sign up for our text messaging service. Text this message at GSN Roswell to the number 81010. And that is a two-way communication that you can actually text into us your story of why Grace Sunday nights matter to you. But not only do we want to hear from you, we want to share with you. And so for this week, if you sign up for our text messaging service, the same one that we highlighted before, you're going to get text messages throughout this week of people answering this question, why Grace Sunday nights matter to them. And the reason we're going to send these out is because it is encouraging to have your eyes open to say, there is a lot more that's going on Sunday nights than just putting chairs together and just singing music and just listening to messages. God is working and He is moving. And that's why we want to highlight that. So this is why we do what we do. But remember, the why drives the what. Here's what we do. And here's what I want to encourage you to consider. What do we do for Grace Sunday nights? We create strategic vision. First, we start with a vision. The simple vision is we want people to connect with Christ and have their lives change. But in order to fulfill that vision, it has to be strategic. And here's how we strategically place people. We have different teams highlighted all right here. And each of these teams have a leader. But I just want to quickly highlight two. First, the setup team. We have about 4 guys right now that come every single week and take 2 hours to set this up. If you've ever been here on a Sunday morning, it looks nothing like this. And I'm going to be very frank with you, they're getting burned out and they need help. If you could be a part of this team and come even every other week from maybe just 1 to 2 o'clock, we could set this thing up in an hour. But right now, it's taking close to 2.5 hours because these same 4 guys are doing this every single week. And if they don't set this up, this environment does not exist. That's one of the big teams. And the second one is our growth groups. As we move forward into 2016, I want to encourage you to get involved in a growth group. If you want to lead a growth group, you have to do 3 simple things, and here's what they are. You have to grab, gather, and grow. You've got to grab the material that's going to help you grow in your relationship with God and others. Gather at least one other person or up to 13 people. Gather together and then grow in your relationship with God and others. Because people will come for the service, but they will stay for the relationships that you heard over and over again. The best way to grow these relationships is in growth groups. So if you are considering how could I get involved, you might want to consider leading one of these or hosting one of these groups. It's simple. We provide you with all the material that you need. You just got to gather people together, and then you grow in your relationship with God and others. Right now, I am involved in 2 specific growth groups that happen every single night. At about 6 o'clock, I have a growth group with my kids and my family. We gather together. We look at the material, and we grow in our relationship with God with others. Then after that, about an hour later, guess what? I have another growth group, and it's with my wife. We gather together, we get the material, and we grow in our relationship with Christ and each other. It's that easy. We provide everything for you. You just need to be willing to say, you know what, I can do that. Maybe it's with your spouse, maybe it's with your family, maybe it's with a coworker, maybe it's just with a couple people that you play basketball with or do sports with. You can do this. This is another area that we have. So we need you. And if you want to get signed up, you can write that on your connection card. Hey, I'm willing to serve in whatever team. We'll connect you this week. Or again, you can sign up for a text messaging service and just text in the area that you want to serve. So why in the world are we doing all of these things? Why are we having production meetings? Why are we doing message prep? Why are we having weekly prayer? Why are we having music selection? Why are we having setup? Why are we having full rehearsal? Why do we have children's ministry? Why do we have coffee prep, pre-prayer, impressions, communion prep, coffee team, 15 after prep, prayer team, media team, ushers, reset, and growth groups? Why? Here's why. People are experiencing God and their lives are being changed. I literally cannot think of a better why than that. To invest my life and myself in. And so if you would ask me, why does Grace Sunday Night matter? This would be the answer I would give. People are experiencing God, and because of that, not because of us, but because of what He is doing on the supernatural level, lives are being changed. That's why Grace Sunday Night matters. So as you think about this, I want you to really ask yourself this question. You don't even need to write it down. I would appreciate it if you did. But why does Grace Sunday Night matter to me? Think about it. If you're visiting with us, maybe you could say, I have no idea, you people are just weird. And that's okay. But if you have been here at least one time before and you have come back, why? Think about your answer. And then share that answer with us in whatever form you want to do it, in the connection card or the text messaging service. And be ready to get involved. Because this why is what's going to be the motivation for what you do. And if you don't have a clear answer for this, it's going to be very hard to be motivated to move forward in what God is doing here. Another way that you can get involved is consider, as we do every week, is through giving. It costs at least $2,600 weekly to put this on. And I believe that God takes that natural money and He does something supernatural with it that we saw here tonight and you're going to hear about all week long. So in just a little bit, I'm going to have the ushers come forward. And as you financially give, either putting something in the basket or giving online on the app, know that that is changing lives and God is using that to work supernaturally. So as we launch Y Week, I want to hear your stories. I want all of our eyes to be open, not just to the natural reality of what's going on, but to the supernatural reality that God is doing something far greater than we could ever imagine. But those stories are wrapped up in your lives. And so don't share your story to puff yourself up. Share your story to help open someone else's eyes. Because we all need our eyes open to the supernatural reality of what's going on here. Let's pray. God, I pray very simply, just like Elijah did. Open our eyes because we see the natural reality of what it takes to put on Grace Sunday nights. And I pray that through this week, our eyes would be opened powerfully to see the supernatural reality of what you're doing. Because it's not about just setting up and tearing down and coffee and impressions, but those things are all helping people experience you. And so God, open our eyes this week to that reality. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.